Tenemos ahora a Natalie Matosín. Ella es investigadora en el Instituto Max Planck en Munich. Natalie, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here. So you have to put up with my Australian accent for the next 15 minutes, unfortunately, which we know might result in dissatisfaction. But alas, here we are. So I'm actually hugely honoured to be here today because I have to find my presentation. Because my mother was born in Amorebieta and my family is from this region. So when I got asked to come to Bilbao to speak, I was really, really excited. I don't know where it is.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Also, I use Mac, so I'm Windows intolerant.
Probably me too. Wait.
It's frozen, I think.
No puedo. Queremos cerrar esto.
I can probably just talk without.
No. We'll find a way. Don't worry.
It would be a good exercise.
No puedo. Okay. Got it. You know where it was? Wait.
Let's see it.
Let's see. Here it is.
There we go.
Okay. There you go.
All right, thank you. So we've had a similar talk to this already, but I wanted to, it's a bit loud, sorry. I wanted to tell you from my perspective some things that I wish I knew when I was at the beginning of my studies, so maybe at the beginning of my honours year, which is what we do in Australia. It's like a one-year master's degree that we do before our PhD, and I'm now in the third year of my postdoc, so I would say that I'm not talking to you from very far from where many people in the audience are as well. So when I got asked to give this talk, I was brainstorming and trying to think about some things that I wish I knew earlier, and so I thought that I'd share those with you, and hopefully you'll find those beneficial as well. So the first point is to think about the future, and I think that this is the single most critical point that everyone should be thinking about regardless of your career trajectory. So regardless of whether you want to stay in academia or if you want to go into industry or perhaps even corporate. And the reason for this is that everybody wants to see productivity, leadership, and creativity. And the way that you show this is through your CV. And so it's important to build it as soon as possible. And you can do that through awards, travel grants, poster prizes, but most importantly, papers. I'd say that for most of us, that papers are the most important thing that we need to focus on. Number two, it's about the journey, not the destination. So your PhD postdoc training is a chance to get to know a topic really intricately. As we saw before, the PhD is a really, really tiny part of the knowledge that's in this world. But that's actually not the point of it. The point is to teach you how to research and so that then you can apply the techniques and the methods that you learn to other situations. And so I think that during your training that it's really impossible to be an expert in everything. And so it's a good idea to try to get an overview of everything, but then to be an expert in only a few things. Number three, make the most of your downtime. So I received the advice once that you can practically write a paper before you do the study. And you know, when you think about it, it's probably actually true because a lot of the times we know what the aims are, what the hypotheses are, and then you can plug in your results later on. And what this does is it gives you a framework and it gives you something to work towards. And also just to write as much as you can early on. So apply for as many grants and awards as you can because these will build your CV, but also they will help you to develop these important skills so that you can apply for things because this is something which will occur again and again throughout your career. Number 4, work out your strengths. So what is it that you're good at? What do you need to improve on? And how can you contribute to your group? So via collaborations, team building, and through your contributions, you also bring about opportunities both for yourself and for your teammates. So when you're working as part of a team, I think it's important to remember that a win for someone in the team is also a win for you. And I think that everybody should really be working with that mentality. Number 5, enthusiasm is everything. Enthusiasm and passion will carry you an extremely long way. There's a huge amount of research in the social sciences now that show that this is true, because confidence is about you personally, whereas enthusiasm is about your topic. And it's hard for us to be confident when we never know everything. It's just in the nature of science and the work that we do. And so if you can focus on being enthusiastic and passionate about your questions and have curiosity, then that will carry you an extremely long way. Number 6, create a positive environment. So I have worked in places which have not been super positive, and I've worked in places that have been. And as I'm getting further and further along, I'm realizing that you can actually create your own positive environment. And for sure, sometimes it can be tricky, but it's possible to surround yourself with strong and positive people that are all very supportive, and that you have this environment where you're all helping each other out. And I can guarantee that if you're in this kind of environment, you'll not only be happier, but you'll also be much more successful. Number 7, join internal support groups. So you're not alone. Some groups and projects are structured in a way that can be very isolating, and it's important to us as humans to feel like we're connected and that we feel solidarity with each other. And one way that we can overcome this is by making times and events to talk with each other, with other early career researchers. There's usually more structured PhD and women in science support groups through institutions, and I really encourage everyone to get on Twitter. So I have, I think I have about 3,000 followers. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a problem in the lab, and I asked for help, and I had so many people reply to me, and I overcame my problem really fast. And I think that, this is like a specific example that had to do with my research, but the reality is that whenever I need help, I have a network of 3,000 people at my fingertips that I can ask them for anything. And I think the sooner that you get on there and you start to engage, that the more beneficial that can be for you, especially when you're early in your career. And the reality is we don't know everything. Number 8, stay focused on the goals. So building the CV is important. However, nothing is more important than papers. And so to be able to build your CV and also get papers, you need to have some kind of balance. And so what I've seen in the past is that some of my friends and younger colleagues have used event participation, organization, teaching, traveling, email, side projects, all these things as a distraction from doing what they should be doing. And so, we don't have an infinite amount of energy. We have to choose where we put it. And so it's just something I think is important to think about, that for sure you want to build your CV, but you also have to remember that everything you do is for an outcome. Number 9, have many mentors. So there are tiers of mentorship. So you don't necessarily have to have a professor who is looking out for you and putting you forward. Of course, that's really helpful. But there's mentorship all around us. So we can look sideways and we can have mentorships from our colleagues above and below as well. And also I think that there's this idea that you need to have someone as someone championing you. I don't think that's true, because mentorship is really everywhere. There's all kinds of self-help books out there. There's this a really famous book on negotiation called Getting to Yes, which gives great advice. Marie Forleo has a YouTube channel which is based on business, but a lot of the concepts that she talks about are still relevant for us. And so I think that you don't necessarily have to get mentorship from colleagues or from professors. You can get it in many different ways. And the last thing is to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your mentors and use them appropriately. So the great thing about having a broad network of people that you can ask for advice is that depending on the situation, you can go to different people. And because no one's perfect and not everyone knows everything. And so I think that it's something that can be really beneficial if you have lots of opinions and then you can make your own educated decisions. And also never be afraid to ask for help. So this is just something which is inherent in our field that we always need to be asking for help. And I think that rather than staying alone and afraid, that it's always a good idea to talk to others. And lastly, believe in yourself. So I don't think I need to say much more here other than that doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I think that, you know, as an early career researcher, that this is something which is really difficult to overcome, but just know that, you know, as you go through that, it does get easier and easier. And I still have a lot to accomplish in this area as well. But yeah, so if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them. I'd also like to mention that I blog and that you can find me at nataliematosín.com, and I have a lot of articles of issues that I faced as an early career researcher, and you might find them helpful too. I'm always happy to be contacted by email, and I'm on Twitter at Natalie Matosín. Thanks.
Gracias, Natalie. No sé si os habéis fijado que una de las recomendaciones de muchos de los speakers hasta la fecha tienen que ver con evitar la isolation de los laboratorios que tiene a veces, estar conectados y conseguir mentores. Any questions for Natalie from the floor? ¿Alguna pregunta?
Hello, Natalie. My name is Mark. Sorry that I arrived in the middle of your presentation, but there's a crazy queue around Bilbao, which is now, I think, going down. Well, I just caught the last few slides, but they really resonated with me about this topic of mentorship. I think it's one of the most important things that one can learn, is this ability to reach out to people and to reach out to the right people. And as you say, not everybody has an answer, but with a good network of mentors, they can really help a lot. And I remember when I was younger and, you know, in the process of my education, I was very reluctant to ask people their opinions, especially if they were a professor or even sometimes, you know, another student. And then when I went into industry, this really makes a big difference. So I was just saying to Ivan now, I said, this is, you know, I really 100% agree with some of your conclusions there. So thank you very much for highlighting that.
¿Alguna pregunta más antes del café? ¿Seguro? Bueno, pues damos entonces por concluida la sesión. Muchas gracias a todos los ponentes. Thank you very much to all of you.